Hello, Unlock listeners. Matt Landau here. We've been busy preparing for you season 6 of the Unlock podcast, which is going to be debuting in just a couple weeks' time. Hopefully everybody is managing in these difficult periods. Some of you have bookings up the wazoo. Others of you are still stuck, frustrated, angry, twiddling your thumbs. Wherever you fall on that spectrum, I can promise you that season 6 of this podcast, the guests that we have lined up, and the action items, along with the theme that we've chosen, will not just motivate you as we move into this new era of vacation rental future, but also give you really actionable tips, things that other owners and managers are doing to capitalize on our positioning, because vacation rentals have sprung into the spotlight. The very same value propositions that we have always offered are now more enticing, more relevant than ever before. So we're very excited to share with you this upcoming season. We're also excited to share with you the upcoming Keystone Awards 2021. For those of you who don't know, VRMB is the creator of the industry's deepest dive into vacation rental software. And we'll be hosting an episode along with the co-founder of the Keystone Awards, Mr. Terry White, probably next week before the Keystone Awards 2021 are actually released. A little bit of exciting news. We're actually going to be featuring not just fantastic property management softwares that are making a splash, but also third-party software, some of these ancillary companies that have very, very particular specialties, but are allowing owners and managers to achieve new heights. That's a new aspect of the Keystone Awards 2021, and we are thrilled to share them with you when it's time. That said, this interview with Eric Thibodeaux is being published before season 6 actually begins, and you'll hear why towards the end of the interview with Eric. Eric represents a new wave of vacation rental managers to me. He's someone who became very successful in an entirely different industry. Along with his wife, Regina, he was dabbling in vacation rental ownership for some time. But he's now decided to make a go at professional vacation rental management. And what I think makes Eric so unique in this new market is that he is ready to use every tool at his disposal. He's ready to take every best practice from any manager before him and put it into action so he doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. He's just ready to fly. And in only the last 2 years of his existence, despite this crazy pandemic, their growth is exceptional. So listen to this podcast and pass it along to any owner or manager that you know who wants to grow, because Eric is focused on doing things the right way. And unlike probably any other podcast you've ever heard in our industry or maybe elsewhere, we start this interview off with a little bit of exercise. Mr. Thibodeaux, I'm a little bit chill this morning because I went on a long run. I'm curious if you would be open to participating in a little energy exercise with me before we get started here.
Sure, let's do it.
This is an exercise I do before I go on stage to speak at conferences, and it consists of 10 push-ups followed by 10 jumping jacks. Are you willing to commit to this?
Yes, I will. I can for sure do 2 push-ups, maybe.
Okay, well, just say you did 10.
Okay.
Let's make our space into the floor. I'm actually moving my microphone down. I know our super producer Stuart Hooper is going to absolutely love all the variables here. But here we go with our 10 push-ups.
Oh,
Are you doing push-ups, Eric?
I am doing push-up.
5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Let's switch into 10 jumping jacks. 10. Okay.
Great.
Now come over to your microphone, Eric. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And I want you to repeat after me.
Okay.
Ah!
Ah!
No. Rah!
Ah!
At this point, if listeners are still with us, I think they deserve a medal because that was the most unusual way to start a podcast, certainly that I have ever done. But I needed it to get my energy up and to talk to you, Eric, because you, for me, represent a vacation rental manager of the future. And while I'm catching my breath here, I was thinking that we can do the interview today a little bit differently than we've done previous Unlocked interviews, because in only the last several years, you have been through the entire learning curve of becoming a vacation rental professional. And you've figured out tools that work for you and tools that you don't like. You'd figured out best practices and processes that seem to work, those that don't. And I was thinking that we can kind of go through in a timeline format your vacation rental journey, both from getting started and now into this growth mode that you're currently in, and kind of just share some lessons or big takeaways that you've had for any managers who are entering the industry themselves. How does that sound to you?
It sounds great.
There shouldn't be any curveballs here, but if you don't know the answer to something, just tell me you don't know the answer. But before we get into that question and answer session, tell us a little bit about what a boy from Louisiana does for a living. What was your pre-vacation rental career like? What were you doing?
So I've always been into fire protection and safety. So I started out at the age of 15, joining our local volunteer fire department, and got into fire protection such that I wanted to make it my living. But I just didn't want to be a firefighter. I wanted to learn to be more in fire protection, in fire prevention and safety. So eventually, after a couple of degrees at Louisiana State University, I went to Oklahoma State University, the capital for fire protection and safety engineering. Got a degree there.
Is that like official? It's a capital of the world?
It is the place where people from around the world come to learn fire protection and safety engineering in a practical way.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it is the place for sure.
And so what does that lead you into? What career do you then apply that with?
So I decided to go into oil and gas and went into work for, at the time, Amoco, which then later became BP. And I worked as a safety engineer, and through my career there for 30 years, worked in plants and offshore, onshore. I worked as crisis manager for the North America. I certainly worked on the oil spill response in the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually got moved to Egypt, where I'm currently at.
And I love that, by the way. I had a feeling you were like in Texas or something, and then you said, I'll be on a different time zone. I'll be in Egypt.
Yeah.
That's not a normal place for my interviews to take place.
Yeah, so I work in Egypt on a rotation basis. I've been there almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in March. And I work a 3 to 4 week shift as a health, safety, environmental manager. My whole career in oil and gas has been in support of the businesses in health and safety and the environment for those companies.
When you first mentioned that, I kind of envisioned you going up and putting no smoking signs around all the gas tanks, but it sounds like it's a little more complex than that.
Oh, it's a lot more complex. It's certainly, protecting the assets, protecting the people primarily, because we can replace assets, but, working to provide processes and systems and training and knowledge to our coworkers. Because at the end of the day, we all came to work and make an earning and living for our families, not to be injured or never to not return home. So safety and health and fire protection is one of my passions. I care about it deeply. Committed my life to that type of work.
And I can now see that we've kind of given listeners a little seed, a seedling for a topic later on in the conversation. But I'm guessing that career in oil and gas allowed you and your wife Regina. I'm guessing that's your wife because she's literally on your email name.
That's right. Yeah, she's on the email there. She's got her own email, but somehow she appears on my email as well.
That's when you know the marriage is good. My guess is that in that time period, you guys saved up enough money to invest in vacation rentals. And this was your first kind of dipping of your toe. Tell us about that first phase.
We started in 1992 when we were working in Decatur, Alabama. We had the opportunity to go to a conference there in Gulf Shores, Alabama. And we loved it there and started going there for family vacations. And in 2003, we said, hey, why don't we buy a vacation rental? And so we did. Bought a vacation rental at a little place there in Gulf Shores, a 2-bedroom unit. And we had that for 7 years. And then basically over the next, I guess, from that time to 16, 17 years, we just started buying and selling vacation rentals such that today we have 5.
Wait, so these were being managed by another company at the time, correct?
Yeah, so Myers managed our property in 2003 to 2010, then we sold that one. And then after that, we started purchasing additional units, properties there in the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach market. And then we started self-managing those.
So let's talk real quickly for people who are listening who are getting into the vacation rental management game. You now have some experience with various market data tools. If you were to be starting from scratch and you were looking at either purchasing a property that you wanted to convert to a short-term rental, or maybe even just cold approaching owners of short-term rentals, how would you choose those first properties based on the resources that we have at our disposal right now?
Today, we use email and social media to help look for some of these new potential owners that we'd like to bring in, and we also use Ventori, who's helping us grow our inventory. We just picked up a new property here with our property management company, which we'll talk about. But I think it's when you're looking to purchase your vacation rental, you want to understand the market that you're in, and knowing, hey, is this a good place for me to have a vacation rental? That would be my first step.
Yeah, and also, do you like the place? Like, is it a place that you've been going with your family for many years to the point that you would like to use the property yourself? I like to think that that's like a primordial requirement of running a successful hospitality business. No, because if you don't like the place, how are you going to share it with others?
Right. Yeah. And so when we started out, we love Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and went there for a number of years and said, hey, we'd love to have properties here and share it with others who are looking to come to this beautiful beach and this beautiful location.
And what tools would you encourage folks to use if they want to find what the supply and demand is like in existing markets?
So we've used Ventori. We've also talked to our realtor. We believe in when we're looking to invest in real estate, we like to form a team. And so we had to form a team there in Gulf Shores. And so having good realtors to help us identify how can we find vacation rentals to use or to begin to acquire. Where can I rent? Where can I not rent? Certainly when we started, there were almost no limitations. And then today, there are limitations in where you can rent and have short-term vacation rentals. So I would start with building a team and a realtor.
And finding out the regulatory status of any given destination. There's also tools like AirDNA, Key Data Dashboard will give you a transparent, another example, give you a snapshot of what the supply and demand is like on the market. Most of them have free options to get started, but the paid memberships are well worthwhile. Let's talk about that team, because you don't just do this by yourself, and I'm guessing it's not just you and Regina. Who are the other people that were involved in this?
Yeah, so in 2019, we started our business called Current Tides Vacation Rentals and Sales. And so it's Regina and I. And we also have Ryan and Sherry Holman. Ryan's our broker, and they live locally in the Gulf Shores area. And Sherry manages all of our housekeeping. And then Amy Ramirez, who's here in Houston, she manages our all of our accounting and financing. And so we started with our team of 5. We have contract cleaners, contract maintenance, and we are starting to bring in realtors now in to help us with realty sales.
I love the two things I love about that. One, the realty sales now adds a new um, revenue stream. It diversifies your portfolio. We're going to talk about your long-term rentals in just a second here. But the other part is that you've really, and this is something I learned from Sean Stewart in the last season of Unlocked, is that you've really put together something of a superhero team, each of whom is very good at one or two very specific things. By partnering with the realtor, I think that's a genius move. By having somebody like Amy, who's a specialist in accounting and finances. Was this roles and responsibilities thing planned out in advance, or did it just happen randomly like that?
It was initially planned out, but then we made some adapting, so sometimes you think you can do everything yourself, right? And every year goes by, I know, you need to understand your strengths and weaknesses and move in. So I was initially doing the financing as well, and within like 2 months, I told the team, I said, look, if we don't bring in somebody else to help with this, I'm not going to make it. We're not going to make it, right? So we brought in Amy to help with the uh, accounting and the finance, which is what she does. That's what she does already, and she's also a real estate investor uh, here in Texas, and we've invested together. So, we all have a real estate knowledge, and so we quickly realized, hey, we need some help, and let's bring Amy in as a partner.
And were you super formal about whose role is what and who owns what ahead of time?
We did somewhat. We formalized it more as we started into 2020. Regina pretty much handles all of the operations and the owner relations and takes care of reservations. Ryan does he's the broker, so he's helping and doing the marketing and identifying new owners to bring into the program. Sherry manages our housekeeping, all of our cleaners and our laundry and all our inventory. Amy does accounting and finance, and then I'm kind of they call me like the leader or the advisor to help hold everything together and push us in the right direction.
I love it. And for anybody listening who's thinking about going into business with friends, maybe with fellow family members, I think writing out clearly what each person is going to do, making it clear who owns what, making it straightforward in case somebody wants to depart, who gets the chance to buy that individual out, making a corporation. These are very, very important things that will save friendships, will save relationships. I've learned that one personally, and I know also my parents, when they purchased a vacation home with their best friends, they learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, so anything we do with, we certainly had a lawyer help us put together our operating agreement for Current Tides Vacation Rentals, where we spelled this out and had clear information in there about decision rights and selling rights, etc.
Beautiful. So we talked about these long-term rentals. In addition to short-term rentals and in addition to sales, you're doing long-term rentals as well. Give us a snapshot there.
Virginia and I have been here in Texas doing long-term rentals, both houses and multifamily, since 2009. And so we own a considerable portfolio of probably, I don't know, I'll just say we own all or part of around $350 million of property across the U.S.
Wow.
And some of it's in syndication, some of it is things I've never seen. I know the numbers, I get the updates, and so I know the value of passive cash flow that comes in. And when we were starting out, we knew, hey, we started out our first year, we had 5 properties, 6 if you include ours that we picked up in Ewan. And so I said, this is not sustainable. We need some cash coming in all year. And I said, let's just see if we can pick up some long-term rentals to help stabilize us during the off season. Gulf Shores in Orange Beach, Alabama, or it's vacation rentals at the beach. So during the winter, it's not as much activity. We have snowbirds, as we like to call them, coming in from the north, but the rental rates are a lot less. So we started picking up a couple of properties, and I think today we have 29. Some of the owners have been selling them. And Matt, it's just been really interesting. Like I said, we've done this before, and we took this, what we've learned here in Texas, to Alabama. And some of the people that were managing these long term rentals for these owners were doing just a very bad job. So we cleaned them up. We got the right tenants. We raised the rent. And some of these owners now make double and triple what they were making before we took over. And they're just so excited. Um, one of the owners had some health issues, after we took over, and said later on, he said, hey, we couldn't have done this without you and all the extra money you brought in during this time, because they're older, really has helped us out a lot. So not only are we providing cash flow, improvements for our business, but we're also helping owners who need cash to sustain them in retirement. We're providing housing, effective housing for long-term renters who need a place to live. And so it's a win-win-win for everybody in this case.
I love that. Win, win, win. One of my favorite phrases. Before we move into your growth and how you define that, what you use to measure, I want to go through real quickly how you got these properties when you started Current Tides, how you got them up and running. So assuming a listener has access to a property, but it maybe wasn't a vacation rental before, let's just go through some quick things. And I just want you to give me the first thing that comes to mind in terms of what you learned. First would be like decor and furnishing. What's the takeaway there?
Yeah, absolutely. So decor and furnishing are some of the top things that you want to look at when you take over a property. But if I back up even further than that, I come in and I look at, uh, naturally, Matt, I look at the safety of the property, right? And then saying, hey, if there's a safety issue here, because sometimes people want to come in and start renting this property right away, they just bought it. But we have a philosophy, whether it's our own property or for our owners, we want to do a safety inspection. We want to fix all safety problems, bar none. And then we want to make all the improvements to the property, whether it's new flooring, new paint, and then we come in with new furnishings. And if it's our property, we're doing this, but, so we're not asking owners to do things we're not doing.
What would you recommend people use for some kind of certifying that a property is safe? You hire somebody, or do you use one of our companies in our industry?
Well, we could use, for example, Breezeway has a checklist. Justin Ford has a checklist. Shout out to them. I spoke to Justin yesterday.
I was about to say, you seem to me like the only other person in the world who I know who probably walks into like a restaurant and looks at the fire hazards in addition to Justin.
Well, I look at the sprinkler systems if they're there, and I look for the exit. And it's not that I'm worried about that. It's just it's natural when I walk into a room or location. This is what I do.
I look for the exit too, actually, in all fairness. Probably not the same reasons, but okay. So let's move into actual locks. Do you equip your properties with locks?
All of our properties, whether we own or for our owners, we want keyless entry, basically. So we use cobble locks, but they have several types that you can use.
Yep.
And basically, we can provide access to the guest And they have that when they come in. We put it in our property management software, which then basically when we send them their welcome letter or their instructions, it's already in there. So they have access to the property.
And that's Kaba, Kaba.
KABA.
And you've been happy with them.
We've been happy with them. We've used them for a number of years.
Very cool. This podcast is brought to you by Point Central. However, we love competition, healthy competition in a marketplace. And if you're liking Kaba, recommend other folks go and check it out.
Yeah, I've heard of, I mean, certainly I've looked at Point Central, and it just happens to be that several of the properties in the market already have the Kaba locks installed.
Got it. So let's move into tech now that we're on it. What core pieces of technology are you using property management software?
We are using our property management software. We're using LiveRes.
Shout out to all of our buddies at LiveRes.
Yeah, LiveRes. We started right from the beginning. We did a little bit of a search, and I thought it was taking too long, so I just kind of intervened with our team and said, "We're going with these guys because we have to get moving." We did that back in 2019. We picked up LiveRes, and LiveRes continues to make good enhancements and improvements. LiveRes comes with a CRM, a customer relationship management system, so we can generate emails to our guests. So when they book, they get an approved. You've been approved. Whether it's instant booking or something that they've had a question. Typically, about 2 to 3 days after they book, we send them a little email that says, "Hey, have you considered travel insurance?" Then we send them the terms and condition and the rental agreement. We send them a welcome letter prior to their arrival.
And this is done all automated.
All through the CRM, correct.
Beautiful. Property management software, we like to say, is the backbone, the pillar of an agile tech stack. But on top of that property management software, which Eric, you and I have discussed, none of the PMSs out there do everything perfectly. We bolt on third-party tools. So my guess is that you're using a channel manager and maybe a pricing tool?
We are, yes. So we're using NextPax is our, and we're certainly on Verbo and Google Travel and Airbnb. We have a direct integration through LiveRes. They have a direct integration, so we don't have to go through the channel manager.
How's Google Travel working for you?
Google Travel, we just started in December. We brought it in, and it probably took 4 to 5 weeks to get it loaded in. So Google Travel doesn't at this time. It's not moving very fast, but it's out there now. We haven't received any bookings yet.
It's sneaking up on people, and then it's going to smash them over the head and bury them in the sand.
We're ready for an avalanche of bookings. The booking window seems to have shortened considerably here this year. We're not seeing the bookings we would for the summer. We're getting a few, but we're really hoping Google Travel will begin to take off.
And pricing as well before we move on?
Yeah, so we're using Beyond Pricing, and basically it's it's a dynamic pricing tool that looks at our market, and we can set maximum prices for each property. Basically after looking at the property or talking to the owner, they have some ideas of what they want, and then we adjust those and then let the tool fluctuate each day. But we monitor it on a weekly basis as well.
One of the really cool things I think about someone like you, Eric, is that because you are relatively new to the vacation rental industry and because you want to do it right, like you don't want to reinvent any wheels, you're quick to adopt a tool like Beyond Pricing. If somebody's listening and they've only got 2 properties or one, a tool like Price Labs would be a great fit. But there's no resistance here. You're using these tools that can generate you more dollars, right? There's no bad habits or friction there.
No, not at all. I mean, when we came up with our name, Current Tides, one of the things the current is to reference. We want to be current with the times, of current with things that are taking place in the marketplace. So we may be one of the early adopters, and we're okay with that. And that works in our favor most of the time.
Beautiful. I love that. And this is just a reminder for folks who are listening who maybe have been in the industry for a decade or more. There are people like Eric who are entering your market, who are using all these tools and who are soaring. So, Eric, before we move into kind of like the growth phase of Current Tides, where you're going to, what does growth mean to you? Like, how do you define and or measure your company's growth?
We'd probably initially start looking at growth in just increase in number of properties. That would be the first measure of growth I'd look at. But then we look at the revenue that we can bring in is how we look at growth. And then the next thing I'd look at is how can we begin to hire more people or bring in employees so that we could then focus more deeply about some of our core roles instead of managing many hats, if you will, which is what you do when you're just a few. So I'd look at growth and saying, if get more properties, increase our revenue, hire more people to better offload some of the things that we're doing and focus more deeply on working with owners, checking properties, after they're cleaned and following up on things that we do today, but sometimes, we're starting at 9, 10 and working until the evening.
I like to call it tightening the bolts. You're very specific about that kind of growth, right? Like you have a specific amount of properties that you're looking to acquire by the end of 2021.
Well, we'd like to double our number, probably to around 30. One of our slogans we've been using in our campaign is come be one of 50 instead of one of 100 or one of thousands. We're not looking to be the biggest company out there. We're looking to be grow effectively, better to serve our owners and our guests as they're coming in. So, hey, if you're one of these owners and you're one of hundreds or thousands, come see us. We're small, local, and we're highly focused on our guests and our owners.
I love that. And I want to get into exactly what that means. This episode, Eric, is actually in between seasons. We chose to release this today or whenever you are listening to it, listener, because of something special that we're going to mention at the end. But because we're in between seasons, that means we don't have a particular sponsor for this episode. So I thought I would just take the opportunity to give a little shameless plug for VRMB communities, and specifically the Inner Circle, which is a private community of what we like to think of as the most creative vacation rental professionals on the planet. And Eric, you are a wonderful participant of that. You want to say anything about the power of collaboration?
I think that's one of the great things of being in the vacation rental space. It's also the same in safety. It's that we're working together in an industry to provide a result for owners and guests in our communities, and collaborating on what we're doing basically is key. I think one of the reasons that we've been able to effectively grow as quick, and sometimes it doesn't feel that way, is collaboration, podcast, talking to other owners, talking to property management companies that are out there that are not in our market, and certainly the VRB community, which I've had the pleasure of being part of since I think November. And I jump on there, take a look, see what's in there. How can I learn? How can I answer questions? And then take in what I'm reading and use it in my business. I think that's one of the beauties of this industry, and collaboration and helping others is so important.
Beautiful. That was quite a wonderful testimonial and a perfect intermission. Let's get back to the discussion about growth here. I'd like to know first how you're gauging, because I know you're all about measurements. I'd like to know first how you're gauging whether your guests are happy.
We send every guest through our CRM a survey after they leave, within the day after they leave. And, we probably have maybe a 10 to 15% response rate. Not every guest is going to do it, but sometimes you get some issues, which we welcome and we want to address, right? Because we're not going to get better if everybody tells us we're great. But a lot of them have told us we're great. We have a 96% Net Promoter Score.
What does that mean, Net Promoter Score?
Basically, it's a measurement to say how we're doing against a set of questions that we've asked, basically around how are we doing as a company, how are we doing, how's the building, how's the property, how's our service, how's our communication. So 96 out of 100 basically is we like it.
We like it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and we'd like to get a little bit better. And when the comments come in, because most of the time I'm reading those, and I'll copy those comments in and send them to the team. And if it's an area we need to improve upon, then that's what we do. If it's an area that says, "Hey, we appreciate you, thank you for doing this," we accept those, acknowledge them, put them on our website, and move on.
Cool. I really like that. It's a way to hold yourself and your team accountable and to kind of benchmark the good work. Because if you didn't have that Net Promoter Score, you'd just be going off your gut. How do you choose? Because I know now you're dipping your toes into the waters of Perdido Key. No pun intended. You picked up 2 properties recently, I heard. How do you gauge what's right for expansion? Because right now in the industry, opportunities are aplenty. And I think part of choosing a magic zone, kind of finding that sweet spot, is choosing what you don't want, what is not right up your alley. How do you gauge what's right for current tides and what's not?
Well, for example, like in Perdido Key, to add that in there, I mean, so sometimes we're our own worst enemy in thinking that, I can't do as much as I can do. And so we decided initially just to focus in on Gulf Shores Orange Beach. But I mean, just right there. I mean, across a bridge, and I'm in Perdido Key, Alabama, and Florida. And we decided we're just going to do it this year. So we started in October to pursue that market and immediately picked up 2 properties right away.
And that was using your existing brand, correct?
That was using both of those properties were picked up through Ventori.
Through Ventori. Okay. And let's talk about that real quick because we've mentioned it a couple of times. It's a company that I like to think of as a technology, but it's much deeper than that. Basically, Ventori helps you grow your inventory in a strategic way, and it's the only company out there that does that. So what was the actual technique that Ventori helped you execute in order to get those properties?
So we do a review of the area and we identify A, B, and C properties that we'd like to pursue. And so these were both A properties.
These were properties already on the vacation rental market or just properties, period?
They were already properties on the vacation rental market.
Okay.
And we sent out postcards and emails. Both got picked up on, I think, our postcard campaign. And it just said, "Hey, I want a question." So one was about rates. Rental rates were high and they didn't feel like they were getting the value. Second one was basically housekeeping. So between housekeeping, rates, and just service are where we've picked up properties as we've grown.
And that's like literally sending them a postcard, custom postcard?
Correct.
What's on the front of it?
Yeah, so the postcard typically has those items that talk about what type of services we're offering and saying, "Hey, join us." We never talk about rates. We talk about what we're going to provide.
Got it. So it's a true advertisement. It's not like a little scenic postcard or postcard of photo of you doing your morning push-ups.
No, no.
That would be creepy.
That would get no owners.
I would get a different kind of review.
It would.
You're kind of dipping your toes here. You're going to see how the Perdido Key thing plays out. Maybe it's profitable, maybe it's not, but is the lesson here to give it a test?
Yeah, give it a test. And we're moving in full force with owner campaign there right now. The area in Perdido Key is it goes almost all the way to Pensacola, and maybe it's maybe some people would say, hey, it's too far for me to go from Gulf Shores or Orange Beach to look at those and take care of those properties. And maybe same in Pensacola, don't know, but we certainly have said, hey, there's opportunity here. And, with 2 quick wins, we're happy about that to be able to working in that area. There's also a few more. Uh, Basically, you have to kind of dodge through some of those locations, or no vacation rentals allowed, or so understanding the rules in those areas in this new area is something we're working with as well.
So that's really just a hustle game, right? You don't need really any resources. You don't need to hire Vintori to go canvas a destination, figure out ways to get in front of those existing property owners and make your value proposition. So I love that as just a pure entrepreneurial pursuit. What are you doing with regards to office? Because I know you now have laundry challenges and a laundry asset underneath your business model.
Right. So our first year was an interesting year. I mean, we had a regular office, uh, and I had kind of said I think we could get by with a virtual office, but we got by with a physical office. But we quickly realized that in 2020 we needed an office larger with laundry space, because we were doing all the laundry at a local laundromat. Uh, so as the owners, so that was quite the motivation to move forward. So in December of 2019, we found a nice office space with a great place to build out a laundry facility. Uh, and we ran gas lines there and had everything set. And then COVID happened, and we couldn't buy gas dryers. And so we had to quickly retool to electric. And basically, we got all of our equipment in, and then we just waited till May 1st to reopen the beaches and then begin servicing. So we've got a nice office, room for expansion. That if we just back up for a second, when we looked at our tools, Matt, we could have taken a property management software and then in a few years said, okay, well, now we're too big for this. We picked a tool that we could grow into, like LiveRes. And that's what we're going to do to this office, right? It's probably 4 or 5 thousand square feet, and we don't use it all, but we're going to grow into it.
And I just love the big difference here for folks who just kind of accidentally fell into this business. And that's myself included, we didn't have like growth plans. We didn't know what we were going to grow into. So we just kind of picked the first tool that we found. But this is the real big difference of having a plan. It just allows you to make decisions much more efficiently.
Well, and I think it's also a reflection of, hey, let's don't think we can do it all ourselves. Be open to collaboration. Be open to listening to podcasts, and be open to talking to people about these issues. And when you hear some of this feedback, and it's really open, easy to know. Plus, we've been established business owners.
Right. That helps.
I mean, I remember hearing just some of the stories about, well, I've had to change my property management software twice because it's not able to manage what I want to do. And I said, well, we don't want to do that. We want to grow into it. We want something now. So yeah, we're going to pay more now, but that's okay. We'll grow into it. And same with our office building.
Talk to me about some of these things that you're doing based on the season. I know you view it as a business. There's a downtime of the season, so you've kind of built like a unique workflow that allows you to focus on certain activities at certain times of the year.
Right. So what happened back in July is like the premium time of the month, of the year. And when we're super busy with vacation rentals, and 2020 was no exception, we were really busy. And a long-term property owner came and said, hey, I really have to have you take over my properties now. And of course, we said yes. And then as we went through that, that's one of the beauties of traveling to Egypt. You have a lot of flying and reflection time. We made it happen. Okay. But we weren't at our best. Okay. And We want to be at the best for all of our owners and our guests. So we created something we call seasons, where, for example, from May, Memorial Day, to basically early September, we're in the season of supporting vacation rental owners and guests exclusively. That's what we're doing. We're not expanding our laundry system. We're always looking for new owners, right? If someone comes to us, but we're not looking to bring on board long-term rental programs.
That's where your focus is at.
We're focused in one thing, or a few things
Two things.
to provide that, right?
Right.
And then we created, say, okay, maybe October through February, we're in owner acquisition mode. We are
Love this.
we will look for long-term renters or long-term rental uh, owners who want us to onboard their properties. And so what we're just doing is saying we're going to expand our business. We're going to do these different things in the right times, so that we don't take away from what we really need to do to be at our best during certain parts of the year.
So eloquent to hear you say that. Just again, coming from somebody who didn't have any real plan with his vacation rental business. And I think a lot of listeners, they may have done these things kind of by instinct or accidentally, but I love the formality of and the discipline of this strategy. It makes perfect sense, especially because we're dealing in this delicate product of vacations, and you don't want to screw that up. Speaking of vacations, I want to talk a little bit about your booking direct strategy, because most people who get started use all the listing sites at their disposal. That's stage one of listing site independence. But eventually turn a corner and realize that there's all these other avenues that we can promote ourselves, promote our brand, stay in touch with our guests once they've departed, get that word of mouth buzz flowing. And we can generate direct bookings that give us much clearer projections on how much money we can make, because we're directly in touch with those guests, as opposed to depending on a third-party platform to deliver consistent results year upon year. So what's your direct booking path been like? How's it shaping up?
Yeah. So when we started, Matt, we were just strictly OTA and 100%. And we certainly have our own website there at currenttides.net. And we want to promote direct bookings.
And that website, by the way, was created by LiveRes, right? That's one of the features of your property management software.
That is correct.
Right on. So if you're looking for both a website and a property management software, look for one that does both. So sorry to interrupt. Go on.
Well said. Thank you. One of our off-season projects this year is to increase our direct bookings. So we've had some increased direct bookings year over year. Now we're in year 3. But we are actively in an email campaign to our past guests, which we have approximately 500 past guests that we email on a regular frequency, updates, encouragement. The last one was just right there, be bold. Here, I gave a 2-property example. We're a 4-bedroom property and a 3-bedroom property of, hey, we welcome all guests that want to book, but here's what you're paying if you're coming through the OTAs, and here's what you're paying when you're coming through direct to us. We'll take your booking either way, but we would prefer to save you money, so come see us.
And what kind of results does that email generate?
We got 3 bookings last week. We're going to continue. I think what we're going to do, taking these new properties that we're bringing on, we're going to email them to our email list and start to say, hey, we have a new property, and here it is. Highlight the property, highlight our new properties as they're coming on, so that past guests can say, hey, I want to stay there, or they'll know that we have new properties and that we're growing.
And for anybody who has any doubts about an email marketing or nurture marketing campaign, Eric, how much were each of those 3 bookings totaling in revenue, would you say, estimate?
Probably around $7,000.
Okay. So how much time did it take you to put together that particular email?
15 minutes, maybe.
And that went out to about 500 people?
Correct.
Which is a pretty great use of your time. the reminder here is that you don't need 500,000 people on your list. You need 50 or 500 that actually know and like you. And if you have the process by which they can easily rebook, your numbers will grow directly related to your list. So the more former guests you have in your email marketing list, the more that single 15-minute email, the more bookings it'll generate. What are you using, Eric, to collect email contacts once guests have arrived?
So we're getting them through our property management software, and then we are switching them into MailChimp right now. And we're also wanting to start employing StayFi basically this year. So StayFi is where I can take a device that I can plug into the router of a Wi-Fi or network in a property. And then when people come into the unit in the property of the house and they want to access the internet, they just have to leave their email address, and it's still free. You can collect email addresses by using this technology.
Like any hotel that most people are familiar with, it's a fairly common practice. I know some owners and managers are rolling their eyes right now because they don't like to become hotelified, but it's a fair, very easy way to begin generating a list, especially if you have a large home and 5, 10, 15 people are staying, as opposed to having one email contact in your list. Now you've got 15 times that, which I think is an important part of the strategy here.
Right. And, Matt, I don't let things like I want to be hotelified worry me, right? I mean, this is our business. And so if I want to, choose a different way to get that, it's okay. I mean, we as entrepreneurs are our only typically limiting factor.
Well put. I think we as humans.
Just like your discussion, our discussion about the emails, right? I mean, take 15 minutes. It's not going to be perfect, right? Your list may not be huge. That's okay. But, we run off a premise of done is better than perfect. I'm getting emails to past guests to improve my business. Is it perfect? No. Uh, it doesn't have to be.
That is beautiful. I think my mother recently told me the exact same thing with regards to the virus. She said, "Don't let it keep you from, going about a routine. Don't let what did she say? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." So I like how yours done is better than what is it? Done is better than none.
Done is better than perfect.
I just wanted to take a moment, Eric, to kind of commend you for all the technology that you've adopted, all the tools that don't need reinventing, and the model that you've built and the strategy. But apart from the automated and the scaling side of your business, you also know, and this is where the hotelification thing comes into play again, maybe. You also know that personalized touches and human interaction, what we like to refer to as the limited edition gestures of hospitality that do not scale, that's what makes vacation rentals unique. That's what makes you different from the corporate hotel down the block. So if you're using all these tools to automate the stuff that is boring or mundane or just difficult, what are you freeing your time up for? What are the gestures that, as Jeremiah from Breezeway likes to say, you get credit for in the eyes of your guests?
So with the free time, we're able to make sure that the property is ready when our guests arrive, that when they're calling in and asking questions, we can answer. Of course, we also employ technology there where our phone system used to come in and it was one call for everything. Now we have our phone system can help route people to short-term vacation rentals, long-term rentals, guest reservations.
What tool do you use for that?
It's just our local phone company.
Really?
It's Verizon, and they helped us set that up.
And so what? You said we're a small business and we got a couple different departments.
It started out with a cost conversation and a quality of previous service conversation, and then they offered this additional package. It's helped us route calls more effectively to the right person.
Love that.
So now we have the right people talking to guests, or we have people talking to tenants, or we have people talking to owners. Ryan will talk to owners that need conversations about, hey, we're interested in your service, etc. So we're able to spend more time doing those things that provide better guest services, keeping our owners in touch. And we have, different owners. We have some owners who are completely hands off, and some who want to talk to us every week. We make time for that.
Beautiful. I hear that clock in the background. Are you in Texas or Egypt?
I'm in Texas right now.
Thought maybe it was an Egyptian clock.
That's yeah. This is great new mic here. Yeah,
It picks up everything.
yeah. For whom the bell tolls, whom the bell.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Eric, before we leave, I want to real quickly go through some of the goals that you and your team have for 2021. What are your goals in terms of inventory? You said you wanted to grow to how many properties?
Well, we're shooting for a target of 30 this year. We're at 15 right now. We still have a ways to go.
And that's 30 of a particular caliber, right? You're not just taking anything.
Right. We're not taking anything.
We may take anything.
Yeah, we may, but
What about long-term rentals? What's your goal there?
Our goal this year, probably, I think if we can get to 50 total, I wouldn't want any more than 50. We're at 29 right now. And, just like in short-term rentals, there's buying and selling. That may be something where probably 50 would be our total there.
What about like maintenance and housekeeping stuff? What's your goals there?
All of our housekeeping is through contract. So I'd like to eventually bring in someone full-time or two people full-time to basically, one, inspect the properties, because there's just, as we grow, Sherry just can't check all the properties, as herself on a summer turnover. So we need some help there, and maybe looking at some of our contract housekeepers to become employees, also help out with laundry.
And what does that mean to your bottom line? Because I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh my gosh, I can't take on that kind of new responsibility financially. What does that ultimately mean?
It means we have to look at how we work, and we've already had that discussion here with us. So maybe a housekeeper will clean, because we typically clean one unit a day or during the change. So a housekeeper will only do one per day, because we want to have a proper and effective housekeeping. But then maybe that means that after that, that person comes back and does some laundry at the office, instead of just saying, I'm not working 4 hours a day because I'm not a contract. I'm working, the 8-hour shift or the 9-hour shift or whatever they're working.
Got it. And does the same apply to like operations?
Operations, what do you mean?
Things like the materials that you're purchasing for the business, is the same idea here that you're looking to constantly streamline? Like, are you have any goals there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. So we were just there in November, and we basically looked at all the materials that we're purchasing. And Amy kind of looked at our purchases, and we probably have stuff coming in every day into the office. And so we said, how can we create a min-max? So we built shelves, we labeled everything, we organized things, and then we created a min-max. So that means when I get down to 2 cases of toilet paper, I'm going to order what is that order that I want to produce. And then my max is I don't want to have more than 5 cases of toilet paper, for example.
Yeah, I do this. I do this actually with my own extra virgin olive oil. Like, I like to be prepared when it runs out.
Yes.
So I pre-order when I'm running low.
Exactly. It's the same concept.
What is your goal in terms of reputation, like in the area?
The Gulf Shores Orange Beach market is fairly competitive and there's probably 28 to 30 property management companies in the area, over 15,000 vacation rentals in that area. And we're not even talking the Perdido Key area yet. So, we're small compared to many of the larger players there. And we want to certainly have a good reputation in the community, and being good to our owners, good to the guests that return. This area is highly seasonal and relies a lot on vacation rentals. So, doing the right thing, following the rules, are all things that are key, aspects of what Current Tides is about. And that's how we want to come across as a professional organization that is well respected in the community and takes care of guests and owners.
I love the way you put that. And I only recently came to a little conclusion that there's two loops that can happen with a vacation rental and the guests and the bookings. One loop is you do a good job supporting the local environment that you're in. You have a good reputation. You play by the rules. You reach out to others. You help. You fix things. You donate. You contribute, etc. And if you do those things, your destination becomes more appealing to your guests because it's now an environment that's well taken care of, where they're well received. The other loop is, I think, more of a balancing loop, and it starts again with those guests, those bookings. If they have a bad impact on your destination, or if you're running somehow under the radar, you build resistance real quick. You get a whole lot of neighbors who are not happy about your business. And guess what? That in turn affects your bookings. That in turn affects like your livelihood in a way. And I think if we're forced to choose between one of these loops, it's a no-brainer to choose the one that means taking care of the spaces in which you operate, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's just, I think it's human nature. This is what we should be doing. But I know there's owners and property managers that don't fully prescribe to some of that. Certainly we saw it in the long-term rental. It was definitely not things that should be happening at all in treatment of property and owners and guests, or tenants in that matter. So,
and if you're listening to this and it sounds like significantly more work, or more time, or more money, or less money, or more energy, just think of the opposite, which is literally your business being pulled out from underneath you. Not a sustainable environment in which to work. This leads me into our secret reveal, Eric. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready too. Should we do push-ups, or should we just roll into it?
We should roll.
Okay.
I may be too winded after push-ups.
we may not make it. So Eric, of course, we now know the background story of why safety is important to you in this emerging industry. And we know why this emerging industry, vacation rentals, are important to you. I now see where these two spheres of your life overlap. You've decided to take on a pretty legit project, and that is an actual event. And if people are listening to this early, when we've just released the podcast, they can still attend this thing live. And if people are hearing this several months from now, they're going to be able to access the recordings in hindsight. But give people a real quick snapshot of what this event is all about.
Basically, as you figured out, my two passions are, vacation rentals, real estate, and safety. And so I'm combining these two passions to create, a safer vacation rental business that's called Safer VRs. And it's hosting, it's called a Vacation Rental Business in Today's World Summit. The summit is free. It goes from February 1st through the 14th. I'm trying to have 2 speakers every day. So we pre-recorded these speakers, and we're talking about all kinds of different topics, from property management to investing and purchasing real estate, legal, safety, advocacy, just a ton of things. And it's what I characterize, it's how we're doing things in today's world, or maybe some of it could be my view of how we want things to be in today's world.
How things should be.
And some of it is particularly, because I've done a lot of real estate investing outside of vacation rentals, and some of the things that we're doing there, I've tried to cast into this summit with different speakers, bringing in, for example, how to use your individual IRA or self-directed IRA to purchase or invest in real estate, how to invest in a fund that basically purchases vacation rental rates. And basically, I'm not talking 6% rate of return. Some of these are double digit returns, if you're looking from an investment standpoint. And so this summit is meant to bring people in the vacation rental industry, basically provide knowledge to you can be in whatever level you are. I never knew anything about vacation rentals to I'm brand new, I'm just starting, or I'm experienced. I think there's something there for everyone. And we've highlighted a couple of things around safety and advocacy to help us, because we were talking about prevention right towards the end, and how do we want to be in this loop one. I think there's a lot of similarities to how we run our business and how we deal with safety and advocacy, and they're together, and everything is proactive. If we begin to find ourselves in a reactive nature, like I mentioned in July of this past year, I found we were reactive in our business, and so we put systems in place. We don't need to feel bad. We just need to say, okay, I've learned that lesson.
Let's fix it.
And so in this summit, that's what we have the opportunity to start having discussions and conversations about our vacation rental business in today's world.
Well put, my friend. I don't know if you've been practicing that, but that was a fantastic summary. I love the preventative way of thinking. And ultimately, it actually is way less painful and it's way less costly. It makes you feel better because you've got all your bases covered. So I am very proud to be able to participate in that. You and I are going to publish that. I'm not sure when that conversation is going to take place. But just wanted to thank you, Eric, because I have a great deal of respect for people who do things properly. And you take that up to an entirely new level. You think everything through. And it's a very exciting time for people like you in the industry because a whole bunch of stakeholders are reactive, have been doing this for so long that they've got a little bit complacent or a little bit lazy. And so if you're listening to this and perhaps you are one of those people, maybe you're someone new who's just getting started, recognize the power of this kind of thinking, this kind of planning, and attend Eric's event here. Sounds like a very, very cool thing.
Let me just give the website address. It's safervrs.com/summit. If you go to safervrs.com and then go to summit, there's a registration page. They have me up there for a little introduction, and things should be ready to start going live on February 1st through the 14th. I'm trying to get 2 each day. We'll see. I may be short 1. And then, as Matt said, at the end, I think I'm going to have kind of like a 48-hour period where you could watch any of them. And then I'm going to offer all the interviews to be purchased if you want. This is a free event. However, I like giving back. And I'm going to charge $97 for all the recordings. I want to donate $40 of that to the VRMA Advocacy Fund, and the rest will just go to offset my cost for producing this event.
You are a good man, Eric Thibodeaux. I'm very impressed. I love your way of thinking. So I think this is a good place to end our conversation, and look forward to watching your business continue to grow.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to be unlocked and
to be unlocked.
Thanks, Matt. Bye-bye.
See you, Eric.